Welcome to our today's class. Uh, in the previous 6 sessions, we have discussed some theoretical aspects of registration process, and also we have seen practically how to go for registration. I think these aspects are clear to you. Since we want you should have an expert knowledge in the registration process, we need to learn few more concepts regarding registration. So what I will do right now, I will quickly recapitulate what we have learned so far, and after that we will be entering into some new concepts. Right. So I'm going to share the screen with you right now. I think screen is visible. Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when we started the subject, we are learning, these are our plans to understand who are the persons liable for the registration, what is the compulsory registration. We are going to learn who are the persons who are not liable for registration. This process also will be going to learn. Procedure of the registration, practically you know all these things, right? And I had shown you how a registration certificate looks like, how it is linked to a PAN card, that we have also seen how a registration certificate looks like, why registration is necessary. We have understood advantages, and we know the registration has to be made, state-wise registration is necessary. Some definitions also you had learned earlier, which definitions which are relevant to the registration process. We have learned all these things. Then we understood the concept of taxable person. This definition you already know. And in that context, you know who is a taxable person means a person who is registered or liable to be registered under section 22 or section 24. That means person who is registered is a taxable person. And even if one person is not registered, but if he is liable to be registered, he is also a taxable person. Right? This concept you have understood, the concept of taxable person. Some definitions you have already covered. Now, persons liable for the registration, coming to this aspect, we have discussed various subsections of section 22, and we already know in subsection 1, something is specified that every supplier liable to be registered under this act in the state or union territory other than the special category states from where he makes taxable supply of goods and services or both if his aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakh. This concept we know that the liability of registration arises when the aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakh. And for some special category states, it is not 20 lakh. What is the limit for special category states? For some special category state, you can tell me what is the turnover threshold limit? Can anyone tell me? For a normal state, it is 20 lakhs. And for some special category states, there is a different threshold limit. Can any of you tell me what is that limit?
10 lakhs.
10 lakhs, right? 10. And also, you know, the government has power to enhance the limit. And subsequently, how the limits has been enhanced. We'll be learning all these things. Okay. And subsection 2 specifies that if a particular person is already registered under some existing law, he shall also be liable to be registered. This concept were discussed earlier. And also, you know, when the business is transferred on a going concern basis, then the successor is also liable to be registered. And also, we had discussed this concept when the business is transferred in pursuant to sanction of a scheme of amalgamation or arrangement kind of thing, then the transferring company also liable to be registered. Right? When he is liable to be registered from the date on which the ROC issues the certificate of registration or the certificate of incorporation. When the new company is incorporated, in certificate of incorporation is issued, from that date, that transferring company is liable to be registered. This concept also we know. And we had also discussed the concept of aggregate turnover. Right? The aggregate turnover is relevant to decide the liability of registration. This aggregate turn number shall include all supplies made by taxable person on his own account, as well as all supplies made on behalf of his principal. That means if a particular person is supplying something from his own behalf, on his own behalf, and also supplying something on behalf of the principal, then both the things shall be added to arrive at the aggregate turn number. Right? This concept we know. And the concept of special category states. Special category states means these are the states which are specified in subclause G of clause 4 of Article 279A of the Constitution. If you read this particular subclause, you will find out there are 11 categories, 11 states which can be called as the special category states. Can you read the names are here? Can you read the names of these 11 states which are special category states as per Constitution? Can some of you read it here? I'm showing the cursor here. Please read it. Can you read it?
Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Jammu and Kashmir, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand.
Yeah. Can you count how many states are there which can be regarded as special category state?
Yes, 11.
11. Right. These are special category states as per Article 279A 4G. Right. But what GST law says, GST law says special category states shall mean the state specified in subclause G of clause 4 of Article 297 of the Constitution, except. That means these states are excluded. How many states? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So total 11 and 7 states are excluded from special category states. Now, how many states are remaining now? Who can be regarded as special category states for in the context of registration of GST? How many states will be there? Who can tell me? 11 states are there, but 7 states are excluded. So remaining 4 states, is it done? Yes or no? Yes or no?
So can you please repeat?
Okay, let me repeat it once again. So we know, first of all, we need to understand what is the meaning of special category states. If you read this explanation, it says special category states shall mean the states as specified in subclause G of clause 4 of Article 279A of the Constitution. So now we have to refer to the Constitution. If you refer to the Constitution, these are the 11 states which are regarded as the special category states. Okay, no doubt about this, right? But this explanation says same thing, that special category states as defined in the Constitution, except means these 7 states will not be regarded as the special category states for the purpose of GST registration. Right? Who are they? Jammu and Kashmir, Arunachal, Assam, Himachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Uttarakhand. Okay, if out of this 11, I am excluding these 7, my question is, now you tell me what are these 4 states which remain as special category states for the purpose of GST registration. Can you identify? All of you, please participate and identify. I want the 4 states which shall be regarded as the special category states for the purpose of GST. Quickly.
So one is Nagaland.
One is Nagaland, then
So, and Tripura.
Tripura, good.
And so Manipur too.
Manipur, one more. Nagaland, Tripura, Manipur, then one more.
Mizoram.
Mizoram. Okay. I repeat, what are these states? Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, Tripura. Now, can you remember? It is very important for us to understand this concept because our threshold limit depends whether a particular state is a special category state or not. But special category does not mean the 11 number of states which are specified in the country's constitution. Out of this 11, 7 are excluded, right? So remaining 4 shall be considered as special category states for the purpose of GST. Is it clear to you? Yes or no? Is it clear to you? Clear or not? Can you reply?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this will be more clear to you once we discuss the threshold limits. And also, in our earlier classes, we know the supplier of goods and services are both is required to obtain registration in the state or union territory from where he makes taxable supply if the aggregate turnover exceeds the threshold limit. Right? Now, it is important for us to understand what are these threshold limit. Look at this chart. These are the threshold limit. Whether you had seen this chart earlier. Now you see,
Yes.
this first column is the type of taxpayer. Here we have categorized them as normal taxpayers, special category states. First is normal taxpayers for goods. Second is special category states for goods. Then normal taxpayer for services. Special category states for services. As special category states means I mean those 4 states. Okay. So this exemption limit up to 31st March 2019, these were there in the 3rd column. These limits are specified. But what is relevant for us is the current limit, that is exemption limit with effect from 1st April 2019. We'll remember this 4th column. Okay. If you look at this 4th column, you can see for a normal taxpayer for supplying goods, the aggregate turnover, if it exceeds 30 lakhs, then registration is necessary. And for special category states, for supply of goods, the threshold limit is how much? 20 lakhs. Okay, for supply of goods. And for the normal taxpayer for supply of services, the aggregate annual turnover is 20 lakh. And for special category states for supply of services, the aggregate annual turnover is 10 lakh. Now you can see there are 4 figures, in fact 3 figures, 10, 20 and 40. And in different situations, different threshold limits will be relevant for us. Okay. Okay. Did you understand? Did you understand up to this? Please keep on responding.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now, how to calculate aggregate turnover? We had discussed, but again, at the cost of repetition, we'll do that just a minute. Because the aggregate turnover is crucial for deciding the liability of registration, deciding whether registration is mandatory or not. Okay, and the concept of aggregate turnover has defined in section 2(6) of CGST Act, which we have also learned earlier. Already know what is aggregate turnover. And aggregate turnover includes all these things: value of all taxable supplies, exempt supplies, export supplies, interstate supply of a person having same farm, and it excludes CGST, SGST, UTGST, IGST, cess, and the value of inward supplies on which tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism. If some tax is payable on inward supplies, on reverse charge basis, then that will not be included in the threshold limit for deciding aggregate turnover. Okay, these concepts we had discussed earlier. So this particular chart shows what are the things that we included in the aggregate turnover and what are the components that are to be excluded from aggregate turnover. Both the things are here. Now today what we will do, we will be analyzing whatever we have discussed so far. Right. First of all, one concept just now we are discussing, that the aggregate turnover excludes the value of inward supplies on which tax is payable on reverse charge basis. Okay, did you understand this concept? You might be knowing there are certain services, certain supplies on which tax is payable on reverse charge basis. Right? We had already discussed in our initial discussions. We have discussed various kinds of supplies to whom reverse charge mechanism is applicable. For example, you can see goods transport agency, legal services. These are some examples of reverse charge mechanism. If these kind of supplies are made, usually what happens? The person who is providing the supply, he collects GST and deposit with money. But for these kind of supplies, the person who is using those supplies, or you can say the recipient, is liable to pay GST under reverse charge mechanism. Okay. And if GST is paid on these kind of inward supplies, that will not be included in aggregate turnover. Okay. Right. Here you have to remember, outward supplies taxable under reverse charge would continue to be a part of aggregate turnover. That means only when GST is paid under inward supplies under reverse charge mechanism, that will not be included in aggregate turnover. Okay, but outward supplies are taxable. Outward supplies which are liable for reverse charge mechanism that will be included in the aggregate turnover. Is this concept clear to you? Let me give you an example to understand this. Okay, first you see this example. Let us say X Limited pay GST on sitting fee. Sitting fees is a kind of fee which are normally paid to the directors. And on sitting fee, RCM is applicable, reverse charge is applicable. That means if you are paying sitting fee to a director, then it is your responsibility to pay GST on that. Are you getting me? Are you getting me? In that case, what will happen? The value of services provided by the director to X Limited will form a part of aggregate turnover of the director. That means to the director, that is aggregate turnover. Why it is aggregate turnover from the directors? Because from director, that is an outward supply. Is it not? That is why in this sentence you see outward supplies taxable under reverse charge basis would continue to form a part of aggregate turnover. So when you are paying it on behalf of the director on reverse charge basis, then for calculation of director's aggregate turnover, that will be included. But for arriving at the aggregate turnover of X Limited, the GST paid on this sitting fee will not be included because for X Limited it is an inward supply. For directors, that is an outward supply. So for the director's aggregate turnover, it will be included. But for company's aggregate turnover, it will not be included. Is it clear? Please respond whether you have understood it or not. Did you understand or should I repeat it? Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now look at this example again. GST paid, for example, let us say we take example of this company, that is X Limited. GST paid under forward charge on a turnover of 20 lakh. Right? That means normal GST. Under forward charge mechanism, it has been paid how much? Turnover is 20 lakh. GST paid under reverse charge on inward supply of 5 lakh. Now tell me, What is the aggregate turnover? Is it 25 lakh or 20 lakh? What is aggregate turnover? Some of you please reply. Please reply.
So aggregate volume of the business.
Yeah, what is the answer? Aggregate turnover is how much? 20 lakh or 25 lakh?
So it will be
20 lakh.
20 lakh.
lakhs.
Right. Why 20 lakh? Because GST paid on reverse charge on inward supply, 5 lakh will not pay. Okay, so aggregate turnover is 20 lakh. Now, let me add one more point here. Let us say there is one more issue. GST paid by others, not by this company, by some other people. GST paid by others under reverse charge mechanism. Okay, on outward supply, another 5 lakh. Whether that will be included, that means you have made supply. Let us say somebody else have paid GST on that under reverse charge mechanism. Will it be included? Yes or no? Can you reply?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that will be included. Right. So here you have to remember turnover on which GST is paid. That means GST is paid on outward supplies will be included. That turnover will be included. But GST paid on inward supply will not be. Inward supplies are also not turnover in fact. Is it not? Inward supply means purchases. Outward supply means sales or some other kind of services which are provided. So if GST is paid on reverse charge basis on inward supplies, that will not be included. But GST is paid on reverse charge basis on outward supply, that will be included. Okay, is this concept clear? Like this, we have to make various analysis. Second concept is that we know when arriving at the GST, arriving at the aggregate turnover excludes CGST, SGST, UPGST, IGST, and cess. Let us say this is an example. Turnover is 18 lakh, CGST is 1,62,000, SGST 1,62,000. Total is 21 lakh 24,000. Can you tell me what is aggregate turnover in this situation? Now, specifically, I will be asking you what is aggregate turnover. Can you tell me? Raj, can you tell me what is aggregate turnover?
Sir, can you repeat the value?
Yeah, can you see the value on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Basic turnover is 18 lakh, CGST 1,62,000, SGST 1,62,000. Total is 21,24,000. Question is, what is aggregate turnover? What I'm asking is that aggregate turnover, is it 18 lakh or is it 21,24,000? If threshold limit is 20 lakh, then whether GST is applicable or not, or the GST registration is required here or not. Can you tell me what is aggregate turnover? Drishti, can you
Sir,
reply?
18 lakhs.
How much?
So 18 lakhs.
How much?
So 18 lakhs.
18 lakh. Yeah, 18 lakh is the answer because CGST, SGST, says IGST, etc. will not be included. 18 lakh is the answer. That's the right thing. Now, one more concept we have to learn. Aggregate turnover includes the total turnover of all branches under same PAN. If under same permanent account number, there are several branches. aggregate turnover will include the turnover of all these branches. And this has to be arrived at, or aggregate turnover has to be arrived at on all India basis. Okay, here is an example I am showing. X is a dealer who has two offices. Let us say one is at Bhubaneswar, another is at Vizag. Okay, we are in the process of deciding whether X is liable for registration or not. Okay, in order to determine whether X is liable for registration, the turnover of the both the offices should be taken into account. And only if the same exceeds the applicable threshold limit, X is liable for registration. Okay, here you see this particular example. Let us say turnover of Bhubaneswar office is 20 lakh. Turnover of Vizag office is 25 lakh. What is aggregate turnover? Very simple
45
question.
lakhs.
How much?
45 lakhs.
Yes, 45 lakh is the aggregate turnover. So in this case, let us say the threshold limit is 40 lakh. Whether it is liable for registration? Is he liable for registration? Aggregate turnover is 45 lakh. Threshold limit is 40 lakh. Is he liable for registration? Yes or no?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So I could not hear the last what you said at the last
My
because
question is that in this situation, you told aggregate turnover is 45 lakh. My simple question is that is this person liable for registration under GST? Whether he is liable for registration or not?
yes, sir, he is.
Yes, that is liable. But where he will register himself? Is it at Bhubaneswar or is it at Vizag or both? Where he should register? Can some of you answer? Or at least some of you can guess where registration will be done?
So where the head office is situated, there he can register.
We have not learned anything like that. Where head office is there.
So I'm just guessing, sir, as you told.
Uh, okay. But in the beginning, we have seen no that registration is required in every state. So in this case, in the both the states, registrations are required. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
This is also important tricky things you have to remember. Well, one more example or one more discussion we made. You see, this aggregate turnover also include the value of exported goods and services, exempted goods and services, interstate supplies between distinct persons. What is this? Who are distinct persons? We already know. Is it not? Between distinct persons having same path. All these things to be included to arrive at the aggregate turnover. Right. Now let us see this example. X Limited is in Punjab, is engaged in supplying machine oil as well as petrol. You know, as of now, petrol is exempted from GST. Maybe in future date it will be included. Supply of petrol is not liable to GST, but supply of machine oil is taxable. Right. Now, in order to determine whether X Limited is liable for registration, the turnover of both taxable as well as non-taxable supplies should be included. Right. So, in this example, let us say domestic turnover of the machine oil is 20 lakh. Export turnover of machine oil is 5 lakh. Turnover of petrol is 25 lakh. Now, my question is to you is that tell me what is the aggregate turnover and whether registration is required. Whether registration under GST is required or not. Can you tell me? Domestic turnover of machine oil 20 lakh. Export turnover of machine oil is 5 lakh. Turnover of petrol is 25 lakh. Can anyone, if you answer? Please answer
So,
quickly.
aggregate turnover here is 50 lakhs.
Yeah.
So, and so GST. So we will. So the GST registration will be only for 25 lakhs.
Only for registration is not for a particular amount. Registration you have to, if a person gets registered. So question is whether GST registration is required or not.
Yes, it's
You
required.
rightly told aggregate turnover is 50 lakh. Okay, and it exceeds the threshold limit. Therefore, GST registration is required. Now, one more question.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
So 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 the for so this XLTD it will pay GST on the outward supply of only machine oil and not on petrol, right, sir?
Right.
Okay, sir.
But you see, I also told you the value of exported goods, services, exempted goods or services, interested supply between distinct person. All these things has to be included in aggregate turnover. Okay.
Okay, sir.
GST is not payable on petrol, but petrol turnover will be included. Similarly, GST is not payable on export sales, but export turnover will be included to arrive at the aggregate turnover. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, one more example. Now, this time I will ask the question specifically. Okay, this question goes to Mridula. Mridula, are you there? Are you there? Can you reply? Okay, let's make it an open question. Aggregate turnover to include all supplies made by taxable person, whether on his own account or on behalf of his principal. Here in the example, what I am showing, P enterprise is appointed by A associate as his agent. That means A associate is the principal. P enterprise is the agent. Okay. A associate makes supply of goods on his own account as well as on behalf of P enterprise. That means A associate supplies his own goods as well as his principal's goods. All the supplies of the goods made by A associates as agent of P enterprise as well as his own account will be included in the aggregate turnover of A associates. That means whatever supply one agent is making on his own behalf, that will be included in the aggregate turnover. In addition to that, whatever supply he is making on behalf of the principal, that will also be included. Let us take this example. Turnover of A associate is the agent is 20 lakh. Turnover on behalf of P enterprise is 25 lakh. So aggregate turnover will be 45 lakh. Right? Both the things will be included. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, here one more concept we will be learning. Aggregate turnover is different from turnover in state. To arrive at the to know or in order to decide whether registration is required, registration is mandatory or not, we need aggregate turnover, right? But to pay tax on composition scheme, we need turnover of the states. They are two different things. Therefore, we have to segregate between these two things. Aggregate turnover is different from the turnover in the state. Aggregate turnover is used in determining threshold limit for registration and eligibility for composition scheme. If you want to know whether composition scheme is applicable or not, aggregate turnover will important. Also, aggregate turnover is important to know whether the concessional rate under notification 2 by 2019, we have discussed this concessional scheme earlier in our previous classes. Whether this concessional scheme is applicable or not, we need aggregate turnover. Okay, but once we know whether the person is eligible for registration, person is liable for registration or eligible for composition scheme are eligible for this concessional rent. Okay, then the job of aggregate turnover is over. Now, once a person is eligible for composition scheme, the amount payable under the composition scheme, you know, under composition scheme, we pay tax at concessional rates, right? And we'll be paying tax on the turnover of the states. Their aggregate turnover will not taken into consideration, right? Suppose aggregate turnover might be including some non-taxable item, non-taxable supplies. That will not be included in composition scheme. That will not be included for paying tax under composition scheme. Aggregate turnover may include export turnover, but that will not be included for paying tax under composition scheme, right? But to decide whether composition scheme is applicable or not, aggregate turnover will be relevant. Is it clear to you? Yes or no? Well, so broadly, so far we have discussed what is the applicable threshold limit. Right, now we'll discuss a little more on that. As you know, the threshold limit as defined under section 22(1) is 20 lakh for every supply. And if it is from, if the supply is from a special category state, then the limit is 10 lakh. And also, you know what is the meaning of special category states. As I told you, as per constitution, that there are 11 number of states which are regarded as the special category states. But as per explanation 3 of section 22, for the purpose of GST registration, these are the states which are the special category states: Mizoram, Tripura, Manipur, and Nagaland. Okay, these are the states which are regarded as the special category states. And also, you know, central government has power to increase this threshold limit. Okay, so consequently, subsequently, some limits has been enhanced. We'll be learning that thing. Here, one more example we'll take at these days, or we can discuss this point. If a person is having place of business in different states, and one branch is at the special category states, then the threshold limit for GST registration will be 10 lakh, because in the special category states the limit is 10 lakh rupees. Okay, this can be understood with the help of this example. Let us say branch 1 is located as Bhubaneswar, branch 2 is located as Vizag, branch 3 is located as Tripura. You know, Tripura is a special category state, isn't it? In the Bhubaneswar limit is 20 lakh. Okay, Vizag limit is 20 lakh, and its Tripura limit is 10 lakh. Here the question is that for this person, what is the threshold limit for registration? Can anyone tell me? There are different branches in different states. Okay, one of the branches is in a special category state. Our question is that what is the threshold limit for registration?
So
Can
it will
anyone?
reduce to 10 lakhs.
It is 10 lakh. Yeah, you are right. We have to should know the threshold limit for registration is 10 lakh. Okay. Here, one more thing you have to learn. There is a notification number 10 by 2019, dated 7/3/2019. This notification exempt persons who are engaged exclusively for supply of goods. That means supply of services are not covered here. So this notification covers the persons who are exclusively engaged for the supply of goods and whose aggregate turnover in the financial year does not exceed 40 lakh. That means up to 40 lakh. If a person is supplying goods, then they are exempt. That means the threshold limit for certain person has increased from 20 lakh to 40 lakh rupees. Okay, are you getting me? By virtue of this particular notification. That is why some places threshold limit is 10 lakh. In some situation it is 20 lakh. In some situations it is 40 lakh. The three kinds of limits are there. Right. And there are certain exceptions to these limits also. We'll be discussing it shortly. Yeah, look at this chart. Look at this chart. Things will be more clear to you. I'll be once again explaining you. You see, these are the states names. And for goods, this is the threshold limit 20, 20, 40, 10, like this. These are the special category states: Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, Manipur. 10, 10, 10. Others you see 20 or 40. For services, it is either 20 or 40. So 20 or 10 for services, it's either 20 lakh or 10 lakh. It will be the threshold limit. These are some other states you can find out. First, this is for goods. This is for services. Okay, we'll summarize these limits. All this we state what is the limit. In the next session, we'll summarize all these limits. But right now, we'll conclude this session. We'll catch up immediately in the next session. But just now, understand that in certain situations, threshold limit is 40 lakh. In certain situations, it is 20 lakh. In certain situations, it is 10 lakh. Okay, we'll stop here for the time being. Again, we are going to catch up immediately after 15 minutes in our next session. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.